people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. The back and forth continues between Alicia Baumgardner and Clarissa Shields. Alicia, who the media caught up with this past weekend's at the fights at what was the Diego Pacheco versus Alim fight, where she said there are going to be consequences for the fiasco between them a few weeks ago, a few months, and she would knock out Clarissa Shields. To which Clarissa responded, shut the fuck up. Consequences in terms of legal action? Or idle threats, since it's been weeks since that fiasco between them at the after party for what was an MVP show. We know that MVP as a promotion has made the decision to ban Clarissa Shields from any of their upcoming events moving forward. She will not be able to attend. In a related story, an update I should say to a previous one, in my previous video we talked about Alicia Baumgardner being in the market for a new trainer over there on the West Coast, spending a little bit of time with Manny Robles. Now it would seem she's also spent a little bit of time with Julian Chua. Trains fighters like Scrappy Ramirez, Zurdo Ramirez. It's part of that big rebuild that we saw in Zurdo, that saw Zurdo become more of a boxer and a jabber, more of a mover than the pressure fighter he was at super middleweight. Julian Chua had a lot to do with that, and I think that he could theoretically be a good fit for Alicia Baumgardner, who's best described as a cross between a pure boxer and a boxer puncher. She's got a switch where she can be a bit of both. Pure boxers are generally safety-first outside fighters that stay behind their jab and stay on the move, using the ring while they do it, and we know that Alicia is fully capable of fighting a fight like that, but when she has to, she can turn it up. She can be aggressive. Most pure boxers don't actually like to spend a lot of time in the pocket, where Alicia Baumgardner can and does, banging in the booth whenever it's necessary. Some would say that she hasn't looked that dynamic as of late, since enlisting the aid of Derek James in her corner, once trainer of the year. Some would say that she looked better when she had Tony Harrison in the corner, though he's not there now for whatever reason. And we know that Tony's got a pure boxer's philosophy. I think that Julian Chua is of a similar mindset, which is how he was able to mold Zurdo Ramirez from a mere pressure fighter to a mover and a jabber, so he might actually be a good fit for Alicia Baumgardner. In theory. Did the fiasco between her and Clarissa, where Clarissa took a cheap shot and smacked her across the face, did that hurt Alicia Baumgardner's stock? Nah, not really, because there is a noticeable discrepancy in size between Clarissa Shields and Alicia Baumgardner, and after the fiasco, I saw most people wondering, what was Clarissa even doing there if she doesn't get along with most of the people at MVP, the co-founders?
Who invited this bitch?
You're supposed to be big and bad, crashing a party that you likely weren't invited to and going over there and picking a fight with Alicia Baumgardner, since nobody believes she walked up to you and started this. You likely walked up to her to give the journos something to write about. To clout chase. That's why she's set to box alongside a bunch of uber celebrities in her upcoming fight with Kay Scotch. Uber celebs littered on the undercard. She's a clout chaser. When you give Jake Paul a hard time for being a social media influencer who moonlights as a boxer, then turn around and share a card with those exact same kind of people, it makes it obvious you're looking to siphon clout from people that are more popular than you are. You want to stay talked about. You want to stay in the news. Any way you can. When you give a Jake Paul a hard time for being a social media influencer who moonlights as a boxer, then go out of your way to attend every event him and Nikisa Badarian put together.
Who invited this bitch?
I think that the attack was premeditated. I think that Clarissa Shields went into that VIP room with the intention of creating a stir to stay talked about, to try and stay relevant, because most people, they don't talk about her fights. or who she's fighting.
It's rarely ever Clarissa Shields' opponents that get people talking, since most casual observers and people outside the boxing space don't know who they are.
In truth, some very avid boxing fans, hardcores, don't often know who they are, so Clarissa's got to get talked about some other way, and that's usually by being an obnoxious bitch.
So did it hurt Alicia Baumgardner's stock that Clarissa took it upon herself to start something with her? Not necessarily, no.
Alicia is set to appear on the Celebrity Boot Camp show on Fox, Special Forces, in September, and that may garner her some positive attention.
A nationally syndicated TV show on a big terrestrial network, one of the biggest. She can let her personality shine through, and her ass and thighs.
Because she's got some nice ones.
She can make the most of that opportunity to get herself some attention outside of the boxing space. That could catapult her into different spaces, new ones, not exclusive to boxing, so I wish her all the best, and as stated, it does seem like she's in the market for a new trainer, that she sees what people have been saying, she sees what people are talking about. Maybe Derek James is not the best fit for her, so we'll find out who's going to be training Alicia moving forward.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, IBF junior middleweight champion Josh Kelly says, "I've improved plenty since the David Evanesian defeat on Saturday night. Kelly, 18-1-1 with 9 knockouts, will make the first defense of his title against Belfast's Koyim Agyarko, 18-0 with 7 KOs. The fight takes place on the undercard of Anthony Joshua's heavyweight bout with Christian Prenga in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, live on DAZN, pay-per-view."
Josh's fight is a consequential fight because he's fast become the front runner to unify titles with Boots Ennis in the fall.
Josh Kelly's talent and ability has never been in question, but the 32-year-old from Sunderland has had to face questions about his stamina and toughness since suffering a loss to the aggressive David Evanesian way back there in 2021 in January. The ring's number 6 rated junior middleweight got his chance to exercise those demons when he challenged Bakram Murtazaliev for the IBF title.
The Russian that nobody wanted.
Murtazaliev is exactly the type of fighter who will expose any shortcomings in those departments, but Kelly produced an outstanding display of skill and heart. He dropped the tough Russian in the 4th round, but had to pick himself up from a 9th round knockdown and then gritted out the championship rounds to earn a tight majority decision and realize his dream. During an appearance on Inside the Ring, Kelly described how the win showed just how much he has changed since the loss to Evanesian. Oh, just tenfold, I believe. Experience, ability, knowledge. Boxing is not only a physical game, it's a mental and spiritual game. And when you go into the depths of things, you really start to learn who you are as a man outside the ring, who you are in the ring.
A man.
The IQ, and when I choose to make the smart choices, when and where, it's all about adjusting to their adjustments.
A man.
I'm starting that. Even since I've won the world title, my coach Adam Booth, who's very detailed and doesn't just say things to say things, said, "Something's different. You are just totally different this training camp for some reason."
A man.
Koyim Agyarko is unbeaten, skillful, and in good form, but the Irishman will be taking a sizable step up in class on Saturday. Kelly is determined to set the tone from the first bell and put himself in line for unification fights with the likes of Jaron Ennis and WBC champion Sebastian Fundoria. He's a solid pro. I don't think he's been in there with the levels which I've operated at and the levels which I can operate at and proven in my last fight, he said. "I believe I've got all the skills to take everything away from him."
The victory over Bakram Murtazaliev is certainly the biggest advertisement, the best evidence of Josh Kelly's would-be improvements dating back to the Evanesian fight. That if there's any reason to believe he got better, that would be it. But as far as him and Koyim Agyarko, before that fight with Bakram, there wasn't actually that much between his resume and Koyim's. I think they actually share 1 or 2 common opponents.
He should be the betting favorite with the bookies going in. Josh Kelly, I trust him enough to win a points decision over Koyim on the premise that Bakram Murtazaliev is actually very big for 154. He's got a lot of height and a lot of length, and if you can effectively work around that, then working around Koyim is certainly doable.
Bakram is an aggressive fighter. with a lot of ring coverage, a lot of height, a lot of length. He can cover a lot of ground in just a few steps. And if you can work around him, then you can work around Koyim, who's more moderately sized and not as proven.
Or is hard a puncher, I think.
For Josh Kelly, the assignment is obvious. He's got to stick and move and stay in character. Limit Agyarko's opportunities to land big shots. Don't stay in the pocket with him. Make him earn every inch and pot shot him while doing so. Whereas for Agyarko, you've got to close the distance, get inside, beat him from the inside out, which is easier said than done. I trust Josh Kelly to retain the red and gold belt this weekend.
I didn't expect it to become that much of a firefight that soon. Obviously, I know that was Ennis's plan, but I think Xander was sort of like thinking, you're coming up to my weight, I'm the bigger guy, so I'm going to try and make you feel some things. And it was a good fight. It was a very good fight. There was things you could take from both fighters, goods and bads, and pros and cons. I love watching it.
Boots has openly talked about the dream of being undisputed at 154. Is that a fight all going well on Saturday that you want to turn your attention
100%. Saturday first though, but 100%.
I used to question Josh Kelly's commitment to the Baumgardner-Murtazalia fight. Then he had it, and he won it, defying the odds and proved me wrong. So when he now says that he wants to fight Boots and he wants undisputed, I don't have a doubt in my mind. He's serious.
Yes.
This is what he wants.
Yes.
A fight between him and Boots would bring back the stylistic matchup we saw at 147 between Boots and Karen Chukadzian. Provided that Josh Kelly can stay in character this weekend, stay IBF champion, I think with Boots, people might be surprised how well he does, because stylistically, he brings to the table that same pesky style.
He won't make the same mistake that Xander Zayas made, trading punches with Jaron Ennis on the inside, trying to tough it out. Josh Kelly is more finesse than ferocity, and he's going to stick and move, stay on the outside for as long as he can, forcing Jaron Ennis to give chase. I think eventually he would catch him.
Though Josh Kelly might last a little bit longer than Xander Zayas did, for the simple fact that he's not going to sit in the pocket with Boots for as long as Xander Zayas did.
I could see the contest going 8 or 9 rounds before Boots eventually wears down his man and gets to him, knocks him out, because Boots, very athletic, very fast, and he's got a lot of ring coverage, height, length, and can cover a lot of ground in just a few steps. So at first he might struggle with Josh in the beginning, but we all know it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I do think Boots Ennis would finish him, though it could take a while.
In men's super middleweight news, a name that we haven't heard in a while, two-weight world champion Demetrius Andrade wants Edgar Berlanga after comeback fight. The 38-year-old has struggled to entice top-level opposition into the ring with him over the course of his career. On July 24th, the Providence, Rhode Island native will end a 3-year hiatus after losing to David Benavidez via 6th-round stoppage in 2023 when he takes on Douglas Ataide at the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. The slick southpaw, isn't worried about what his opponent brings to the table and is confident that he'll handle business, but once he gets back in the winner's column, he has his eyes set on one name in particular. I want Edgar Berlanga, Andrade told The Ring. I would love to share the ring with him. That would be a big fight. He needs someone like me on his resume. So yeah, that's the fight to make next.
Aren't they both boxing this weekend?
Their schedules line up perfectly, as the hard-hitting New Yorker also makes his return just 2 days later at the Infosys Theater in New York's Madison Square Garden against Stephen Butler. Similarly, Berlanga also needs a bounce-back performance. One of Zuffa Boxing's latest signees suffered a brutal beating at the hands of Hamza Shiraz in July of the previous year in the main event of Ring 3. Andrade isn't expecting Berlanga to come up short against Butler, but when it comes to his skills, he doesn't see much. If they do get the opportunity to square off, Andrade believes that the Puerto Rican will be in over his head. With that said, he's aware of the problems Berlanga may pose. Berlanga definitely has some pop, Andrade said. It does seem like he has some really good power, but you can only use that power on lower level guys. Now, I haven't really seen him show that power on an elite guy, but I wouldn't be stupid and just walk right to him with my chin in the air, of course not. But I know I have much better skills than him.
The guy Demetrius is about to fight sports a professional record of 20 wins with 5 losses and 1 draw.
Douglas Ataide of Brazil.
35 years old and in desperate need of a barber. He looks homeless.
Most noteworthy names on Douglas's resume are losses to Jorge Sebastian Highland of Argentina and former Olympic gold medalist Rio de Murata, all the way back there in 2015, having amassed so many losses.
Because he's got 3 more.
On top of the 2 I just mentioned, getting so little done in the process, it lets you
know
what you need to know about Douglas, at what level he competes. Though why did it take Demetrius Andrade so long to return, to schedule a fight like this that you could have easily had any time in the last 2 years on Pro Box? Arrogance. After the loss to David Benavidez, he thought he could just start calling out the big names, bringing absolutely nothing to the table to entice them.
Ego.
He was never that big a ticket seller. He was never a fan favorite, so the idea that somebody's just going to give you an opportunity willingly, with you coming off a loss and being so unpopular, it was never realistic. But realism has always been something fighters like Demetrius struggle with. They never want to be honest about where they are and who they are to themselves.
It shouldn't have taken him 2 years to rebound off that loss to David Benavidez. That for the guy that he's fighting now and at the Mohegan Sun, you could have scheduled a couple of fights like that in the last 2 years to where you'd be in a better position if you had than you are now.
Demetrius's fight has been picked up by DAZN and it will be broadcasted live on the platform this Friday, but he has his heart set on a Zuffa fighter, on an Edgar Berlanga fight, and I could very much see that fight materializing because I don't actually know why Zuffa signed him.
They don't have a super middleweight division or anybody over there for him to fight.
Signing him puts them in a position where they have to look outside of their own borders for opponents because they don't have anybody for him to fight. So Demetrius Andrade would be just as good as option as any. A move over to Zuffa might be just what the doctor ordered for Demetrius, who wants to get paid handsomely, but the opportunities are not pouring in.
See, in those 2 years, Top Rank didn't pick him up, or the PBC, or Matchroom. He didn't go back there.
For a lot of these middle and end-of-the-road fighters, like Demetrius, Zuffa is just what the doctor ordered. You can go over there, have some fights, win some fights. Against Edgar Berlanga, he might actually be the betting favorite. Doesn't have to stop there either. Say that he beats this Douglas guy, goes on to fight Edgar Berlanga sometime in the fall on Paramount Plus. They could actually do numbers with that on that platform.
Really?
So long as it's not a pay-per-view, they could. There is enough familiarity there between Edgar and Demetrius that people would pay attention if they fought, so long as it doesn't cost them anything extra.
Yeah, you could definitely do that on Paramount, and people would watch it.
Then afterwards, you can set up a fight between the winner of that fight and maybe a former champion in Caleb Plant, who's been doing a lot of nothing following his upset loss to Armando Resendiz.
Another middle-of-the-road fighter who needs a big opportunity.
Another middle-of-the-road fighter who needs to rebound off a loss. You could get something going between those 3 guys, so long as the operational costs are kept at a minimum.
Under control.
I expect both Demetrius Andrade and Edgar Berlanga to win their respective fights this weekend.